If you've been watching this series, or if you just found this video, there's a good chance you're not confused about your housing situation anymore. You're just tired of it. Those are two different things. Confused means you don't have enough information yet. Tired means you've had the same conversation in your head so many times that you can't stand it, and it still hasn't gone anywhere. That's where a lot of people are when they find this series. Not at the beginning of all this. Somewhere in the middle, where you've already put in real time on it, and you're still not out the other side. And everything you read keeps treating you like you're just getting started. So let me just say this up front. If you've been dwelling on this for a while, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Some decisions just take longer than we think they should. This is one of them. Most decisions have a natural stopping point. You make the call, you move on, it stops occupying you. This one doesn't work that way. You can close the browser, put the phone down, tell yourself you're not going to think about it tonight. And then you're thinking about it anyway, at 2 in the morning. It shows up in the middle of things that have nothing to do with it. The reason that happens is pretty simple. This decision is tangled up in too many things at once. Your money, your family, your daily routine, what your life looks like. When something is that connected to everything else, your brain doesn't just file it away. It keeps it open, like a tab that won't close. And unlike most decisions, this one doesn't have a real deadline unless you give it one. Someone else's deadline creates pressure that actually helps. Your own open-ended timeline doesn't. So it just keeps looping. And every time you come back to it, you have to get yourself back up to speed all over again. That wears on you. Every time you revisit this, every conversation, every number you run, every article you read, it costs you. And not just in the moment, but afterward. And if you've been doing that for a year or two, the toll of all that back and forth is real. You feel it even if you can't explain where it went. One thing that actually helps is getting it out of your head and onto paper. The worksheet I use with clients, the 5-step Move Decision Worksheet, isn't designed to make the decision for you. It's designed so you stop having to rebuild everything from scratch every time you come back to it. When the trade-offs are written down somewhere, you're picking up where you left off instead of starting over. That sounds small, but it changes the whole experience of working through this. What it doesn't fix is the emotional side of it, and that's where the real cost is. There's a point some people get to where the decision stops being something they think about and starts being something they can't stop thinking about. It creeps into dinner conversations. Vacations don't quite feel like a break from it. You drive through a neighborhood you like and feel something you can't quite put your finger on. You fix something in your current house and feel less than satisfied with the outcome. When it gets to that point, it's not really about the house anymore. It starts interfering with everything else. Your patience gets shorter, your focus goes, you're feeling a restlessness that would be hard to explain to someone who asked. And usually at that point, one of two things happens. Either you make a move, and not necessarily the right one, just any move, because being stuck feels worse than the alternative. Or you shut the whole thing down. You stop looking at listings, stop running numbers. Tell yourself you'll come back to it in a year. But that's not really resolving it either. That's more like putting the phone face down so you stop seeing the notifications. Here's what actually helps, and it's less of a big deal than you'd expect. You don't have to make the decision to feel better about it. You just need to get it organized enough that your brain stops treating it like something urgent. Most of the time, the reason it keeps coming back is that nothing about it has been pinned down. It's all still up in the air. Your brain keeps returning to it because there's nothing settled enough to move past. So the first useful move isn't a decision. It's just figuring out what you actually know, what you still don't know, and what would have to be true for different options to make sense. When you can see the whole picture clearly, it becomes something you can actually put aside. Not finished, just not unresolved in every direction at once. The other thing worth being honest about here is where you actually are with this. A lot of people are stuck in this in between state, not really deciding, but not really stepping back from it either. And that's the hardest place to be. It's not about forcing a decision you're not ready to make. It's about being clear with yourself. Are you actually working on this right now, or do you really need to take a break from it? Either one is fine. What costs you is staying stuck in the middle. A lot of people are waiting for some moment when it all suddenly becomes obvious. Some number, some conversation, some piece of news that makes the right answer just click. Now, that does happen occasionally, but more often, it's more subtle than that. The clear sign that something has actually changed isn't that you feel certain. It's more that the decision stops feeling like something that's chasing you. The trade-offs are the same, the risks are still there, but you can look at them head on instead of feeling blindsided by them every time they come up. That shift usually doesn't come from running the numbers one more time. What tends to happen is you've thought about it enough from enough different angles that it finally just feels like familiar ground instead of a problem you haven't solved yet. The exhaustion you're feeling right now isn't a sign you're stuck. A lot of the times, it means you're closer than you think. And what's left isn't more analysis. It's just waiting for the dust to settle. I'm not saying the worksheet wraps all of this up neatly, because that's not what this series is about. What I'm trying to do is make sure you don't walk away feeling like something is wrong with you for being tired. What you're going through is what it actually looks like to face a hard decision seriously. Most people working through this go through something that looks a lot like what you're likely feeling right now. Not because they're weak or indecisive, but because the decision really is that complicated. The fatigue is just the cost of that. One small thing I'd suggest, write down in a sentence or two what specifically keeps nagging at you. Not the whole problem, just the piece that won't leave you alone. Giving it a name, a real specific name, makes it something you can actually deal with instead of something that just follows you around. Next week, we're going to talk about what clarity actually looks like when it shows up, because it almost never looks the way people think it will. But that's for next week. For right now, you're not behind on this, and you're not doing anything wrong. You've just been at it for a while, and that's okay.